Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my game studio, which looks suspiciously like my living room. And you're wondering why I'm sitting on the floor when there's perfectly good couches over there. I don't have a good reason for that. So, moving on. Let's talk about getting started in making video games, what you'll need, and a couple of tips and tricks in order to make it successfully through the end of your first game. Let's talk about the tips and tricks first. I think that's pretty important. So in order to start going into your video game making career, the first thing you'll need to do is have a game idea, and more importantly, make sure it's a small game idea. I think you're wondering, I'm going to go make the next Skyrim. I'm going to make the next Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Put those aside for now and start small. The reason why is because as aspiring game designers, we suck. We're not going to make the next Breath of the Wild on our first try because it's hard. It's harder than you can imagine. So by starting small, we can see where the pain points are, where we lack as designers, and what you'll need going forward. And then that leads to the next point. When we start small, we're actually able to complete the projects. And completing the projects is one of the biggest teachers ever in game development because number one, you can either fail or succeed. And if you do that really quickly, you will learn from your mistakes or learn from your successes and use that to make your next game. So make sure you start small and that you're able to complete. And in order to help you complete, you should pick a timeline for yourself, a deadline. Give yourself maybe 2 months and make sure you complete that project, and make sure you pick ideas that you know you can complete in 2 months. So those are the general tips that I want to get out of the way, and want to talk about the next part, which is the hardware and software that you'll need. And surprisingly, you don't actually need that much. So for myself, I'm using a old Surface Pro 4 from 4 years ago. It's a little bit slow by today's standards, and there's screen issues and whatnot, but it's going to make do. We're going to make do. So hardware-wise, you can be fine with an old MacBook Pro, an old Windows laptop, even if you somehow have a Linux laptop, all fine. So the next part is the software. So software, you can go many options in the software department. There's Unreal Engine 4, there's Unity, there's what I'm going to be using is the Godot engine. And the reason why I'm picking that is because it's free, it's open source, lots of support out there, tutorials, all on the web you could find. There's even YouTube channels that will guide you through making games through that, so it's the perfect tool for that. It's perfectly fine if you go for Unreal Engine. It doesn't really matter. We're focusing on game design and game programming, not necessarily the engine itself. So a lot of the principles will be the same. So for Godot, it's another good point about it is like it's super small. It's like 20 something megabytes to download. So it's a really small. It'll work on like almost the crappiest hardware that you can find out there. So I recommend it based off of that. There's all sorts of graphics tools that you'll need in order to create the assets for it if you are also going to be the artist for your game. So something like AE Sprite, which you can find on Steam, even if you want an open source graphics tool called GIMP, that's available. Photoshop, obviously, but that's pricey. So look out there for GIMP or some of the cheaper tools for that. You don't necessarily have to go all in on the Adobe suite. And for audio, you can use something like Audacity. That's free open source as well. It's perfect for what we need. I haven't had any experience with any other ones but Audacity, so that's probably where I would spend most of my time looking for in terms of audio software. And if you're looking to make 3D assets, there's Blender. There's quite a learning curve into that, but lots of resources out there, so you can go there. So to sum it up, hardware, anything will do. Almost anything will do. But for the most part, anything will do. Software, tons of options, Unreal Engine, Unity, but we're picking with Godot. And as far as tips and tricks, I'm going to keep it small and complete this game in about a month so that I'm not dragging it on. So I'm going to follow my own principles in that. And hopefully in the next episode, we can start going right into the nitty-gritty. But for now, just as an intro into game development, I think those are the key points that you should keep in mind. So see you in the next one. Bye. Not sponsored. Turn off.